of me?
Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
Good morning, Vietnam! I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
I feel the need for speed.
I wish I knew how to quit you.
Love means never having to say you're sorry.
You do. You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
Happy Monday, everybody.
Hey.
Happy Monday, moviegoers. Welcome to a brand new episode, another episode of the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. I am your host, Juan, and at the moment, I am joined by the ED,
What's up, folks? How y'all doing today?
Ed.
You doing all right, man?
I'm doing pretty good, man. How are you?
So far, so good. It's been a good day. Really has.
Good day.
Can't lie. Can't complain, man.
I gotta apologize for the construction in the background. Joined by the man, Craig.
The man, the myth, the legend, himself.
What's up, everybody?
What's up, fool?
It's Monday.
So, this construction you've got going on, is it like I-35?
I don't know, but I got the construction in the background. I got a new shelf here.
I'm not showing my room. That's why I was late. I got home and I was like, all right, let's. My computer's not here. I moved it, so it's down here, and I'm like, oh shit, none of it's plugged up. And
so
I should have thought of the logistics of all the cabling. It wasn't very easy to get to.
I got some more work going on over here, so I'm trying to rearrange a lot of stuff. So pardon the mess.
Pardon your pandemic at the moment.
Hey, but guys, how's the week been? Good weekend, Ed, Mr. ED.
Little too much money spent, but it is
ED.
shut up, bro. But we're getting a new bed. We're preparing for vacation I've got coming up next month and all that. So yeah,
We got mail
can't complain
time.
about it.
Craig got some
Makes
mail.
me want to wag my tail.
You got some,
What did I get in the mail
are
today?
you doing some unboxings?
What did I get in the mail today?
What did you get?
Oh, Hyrule Warriors: Age of Calamity.
Yeah, I
Is that
figured
is that like an adult anime video game?
It's Zelda.
Yeah, it's Zelda. I figured I'd get it and play it a little bit before Tears of the Kingdom came out.
I got a cough. Had a cough for a few days.
So,
We'll excuse it for now.
Yeah.
Just for now.
Everybody have a good weekend though.
yeah.
Yeah.
We went to my in-laws for breakfast on Sunday, 9:00. Had breakfast, hung out for a little bit, and then Johnny, Angie, she was like, "Oh, have you ever seen Ted Lasso?" I was like, "No, I still haven't." She's been bugging me for a long time. She's like, "Have you watched it yet?" I'm like, "No, I haven't watched it yet."
So this goes into recent watches.
A little bit. I'm halfway through season 2. I've binged it that much. I think it's a fantastic show.
Is it that funny?
It's fantastic.
I'm not a big Jason Sudeikis fan though.
Neither am I, but it's up there.
Really?
It's fantastic.
Like every time I see him, I feel like he's just somebody who needs to be kicked in the nuts because he's shoving down his Tesla down your throat.
No, kind of complete opposite.
I'm also not that big into football either, so.
And neither am I, but that's why I never watched it. But I'm telling you, watch the pilot and you'll be hooked.
What was that?
Watch the pilot, you'll be hooked.
Sound like somebody else was creating a pilot. Anyway, so recent watches, Ted Lasso. What else did you get into? Anything else over the weekend?
Oh man. Yeah, let's see. Ted Lasso, NBA playoffs. Yeah, I guess that's honestly it. And then a rewatch of the movie we're doing today. But
what are we talking about today? I didn't even mention it. We're getting ready to
what
get into
are we
it.
talking about today?
The unbearable weight of massive talent is what we're talking about. a little bit later on. Nick Cage, Pedro Pascal. Other than I got some recent watches. Ed, we'll do you last if that's okay.
Best for last.
I don't know.
Some of the other some of the other. That's not me.
I know it's not you.
Ed's probably patting his belly there.
It's just loud, and all I hear is.
So I don't know why, but I went on a pretty. I watched as much as I could in the past week. I'm not gonna lie. I watched Legally Blonde for the first time. Thought it sucked. Watched Easy A. Really good always.
Always.
I checked out Tetris because you told me to. Really good movie.
Fantastic.
Really good movie.
It's not the greatest of film, but it was definitely one where you didn't want to leave.
It made me download Tetris on my iPhone.
Yeah, I mean it was one of the more intriguing, not so blockbuster hits that you've probably seen.
Yeah.
Another was that Apple as well?
Yeah, Apple exclusive.
Apple exclusive.
I checked out Beef on Netflix just because it's a A24 series.
Because Beef,
it's so good.
Call it Duvet.
I watched Beef. I watched every single episode in one day.
There's only episodes for it?
There's only 10 episodes, and they're only like 30, 45 minutes apiece.
Yeah.
And it went by super fast.
That's like me with Ted Lasso yesterday. I'm going to get into Beef. I saw you post about it, and I've heard nothing but good things about it, so.
Sorry. Rewatched Joker, always amazing. Watched A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back. I don't know why, but I had the kick. Rewatched
every now and then.
Rewatched the Batman.
Because my 4th is right around the corner.
And it's the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi, which if you guys don't have your IMAX tickets, snag them up, because I already got mine. I'm going to go see Return of the Jedi in IMAX. Knock at the Cabin. I didn't know what to expect. I went in with low expectations, especially with it being M. Night Shyamalan, and it was a fun movie.
Shyamalan, ding dong.
Yeah, super fun movie. The redhead from Harry Potter's in it. Rupert Grint. Really good movie. Dave Bautista kills it, knocks it out of the water. Just a really fun movie.
Yeah,
and then you want to talk about fun. I watched Cocaine Bear on Saturday morning on the Peacock.
I saw. Fantastic
film.
It's on the Peacock?
It's on Peacock.
It's on the
Yeah, this was its weekend premiere. It just premiered on Friday night. So watched Cocaine Bear. It was also Ray Liotta's final film. Directed by Elizabeth Banks. So Craig, you're into the Pitch Perfect movies.
I know. And when I saw that she directed it, I was very confused. But hey, people shouldn't be limited to their artistic visions. And she definitely stepped out of the realm in this one.
Also, Aldrin, who plays Solo, is in it.
Yeah.
Ice Cube Jr. is in it.
ICJ.
Shaved Ice. We'll call him Shaved Ice.
Shaved Ice.
So
O'Shea Jackson Jr.
There you go. So Cocaine Bear, I gave it like a 9. I really, really appreciated the movie. And then I went on. I watched Joe with Nick Cage, Massive Talent, and The Farewell. But if I had to recommend anything, whip out your streaming devices because it's on Peacock with Cocaine Bear and Knock at the Cabin, and then Netflix's Beef. And speaking of Beef, Ed, what are your recent watches?
Man, so we finished South Park, all of it, new season as well. Bless you. We basically delved into Family Guy. We are in the 4th season of Family Guy at the moment.
Jesus Christ. No, not in a bad way. I just said that because we're getting ready to talk about Jesus Christ when we talk about Passion of the Christ in a few weeks.
About JC, but no, Family Guy, and then watching The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
You guys watch that as a couple?
No, nope. Solo dolo on that. Funny enough, while I was out sick last week, I actually watched several WrestleManias.
Oh, nice.
And I'm talking like I started with Undertaker's debut, WrestleMania debut at least. So what,
WrestleMania
8?
7?
7. And went to like 17.
Nice. You just watched his matches, or you watched the whole show?
No, the entire show.
How
Oh,
do you
nice.
watch 10 Aren't WrestleManias like 5.5 hours long?
No, back in the day they were like 2.5, 3.
Yeah, nice though. I'm
Maybe
proud.
3.5.
But still, that's
So between 7 and 17, that's 10. What was your
But-
favorite one in that stretch?
favorite WrestleMania, favorite match. Go.
Ooh. Probably Rock and Stone Cold, of course.
From 17 or 15?
17. Because the 15 was great, don't get me wrong, but 17 was just that.
It had everything.
Can-
It had the heel turn. It had the Limp Bizkit music video. It had 65,000 people in the Astrodome.
And if I'm-
What year
Like,
was
if I'm not
17?
mistaken,
01.
90 or 01. If I'm not mistaken, that was the first one I ever watched with you in
Yes, sir.
your den, for that
I
matter.
remember the first WrestleMania I watched with Johnny. We were at his parents' house.
Mhm.
You know it's a big deal when we got the big den. And we had the big TV, and his mom and dad stepped aside and let us have it. We had Little
Yep.
Caesars. We watched Floyd Mayweather.
Oh yeah,
Punch, the big show.
Oh, yeah.
I remember that.
WrestleMania 24.
Cole wore a diaper.
Yeah.
That was, yeah. There was like 8 of us. That was insane.
Yeah. You had to reserve a seat. Remember? And if you got up to use the restroom, if you didn't say no seat, what was it? You had to say something or you lose your seat.
Yeah.
Look,
Oh, my
quick.
God.
Yeah. So if you
Oh.
wanted seconds, be prepared to lose
man,
that
good
seat.
times. Good times.
Although I will say some of the favorite matches were some of the Undertaker. Seeing Shawn Michaels as an undercard was kind of cool. Kind of weird, but cool at the same time. So
I
there
also
was a
saw
lot.
The cream and burnt orange game. I was excited to see a Manning on the field. So
That's all you saw. I saw those low lights.
in good time, in good times, things will happen.
Hey, Jackson Arnold this Saturday though. I'm excited to see what the boys in the Crimson and Cream look like.
Did you enter the hot dog eating contest, Craig?
I can only do like 2 hot dogs, to be honest.
Probs is doing a hot dog eating contest.
No.
Are you going?
Contest, it is a last-second decision for me.
If you do, take a picture of the hot dog winner. I want to see who wins.
It'll be this guy right here. I really want to go, but with as many people as there were last year, setting a record for a spring game, I don't know if I want to fight through all that traffic.
Yeah, but that was they were excited to see your coach come back, and they it was a big deal.
Well,
They thought they were going to have a good year. They had a shitty year, so probably it's going to be an all-time low this year. Probably,
No,
so you could probably go.
I guarantee you it's going to be the same as last year.
Who's isn't your quarterback going to be Landry Jones Jr.?
Dylan Gabriel, and then
Okay.
Jackson Arnold's going to come out there and sling it a little bit.
Oh,
But
God.
yeah, something Texas hasn't had in a while: Heisman Trophy ceremony for statue unveiling. Because we've had quite a bit of those Heisman trophies come through Norman, unlike down there in the lowly Austin area.
Hey, what is that? Three Heismans and how many national championships to follow?
But talking about,
7
anybody from the Norman area, or at least came through for a period of time, Jalen Hurts and that massive contract he just got.
highest paid player right now.
He's got as many Super Bowl wins as Dak Prescott.
Hey, you know what? That's all right. That's all right. But he's been there. He's been through the game.
Dak Prescott was there too. He received the Man of the Year
Man
award.
of the year. He won more awards than Jalen Hurts did at the Super Bowl.
Let's go. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
I'm just making a joke. Don't hate on us.
Speaking of massive talent, we're talking about Nicolas Cage and the unbearable weight of massive talent. starring Nicolas Cage, Pedro Pascal, Tiffany Haddish, Sharon Horgan, Neil
Oh,
Patrick Harris, Lilo Mo Sheen, directed by Tom Gormican. You also get some cameos from Demi Moore, David Gordon Green. Um, Movie star Nick Cage is channeling his iconic characters as he's caught between a superfan and a CIA agent. With an IMDb rating of 7 out of 10, Rotten Tomatoes has it at 87%. The Metascore is 68%, while the Google users have it at 66%. The
I'll be
budget
right back,
was
guys.
the budget was $30 million, but unfortunately, it only grossed $29.1 million at the box office. This week, we're talking about it not only is because it's Pedro Pascal on a hot streak right now, with The Mandalorian and The Last of Us. And then Nick Cage is got a new movie out in theaters right now called Renfield, where he plays Dracula. But it's also its 1 year anniversary. It hit theaters last April 22nd, and we're talking about it 1 year later.
yeah.
So, Ed,
And,
was this your first time watching it?
yes, sir. Yes,
So,
sir, it was.
first time watching it in a few short words. What'd you think when the movie was over?
Chaotic but sweet. Um, this movie kind of goes kind of all over the place at times. I won't lie on that. It wasn't necessarily bad, but it did kind of just like pop all over. So,
All right, my bad, y'all. Padre
Uh,
start. Bye.
Greg, what about you? First time watch, or did you watch it in the? Did you watched it once or twice?
I watched it once. Was it like 2 weeks ago after the podcast?
Yeah.
I was just looking at stuff to watch, and I was like, it might have been 3 weeks ago, and I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna watch it. Heard people talking about it. I think this is before we made it an episode, in all honesty, and yeah, I watched it because of the meme with Pedro Pascal
yeah.
page, and I heard it was funny. Wanted to see what it was all about, and it was just an entertaining watch. It was fun.
Yeah, this is my second time watching it. I watched it last year when it hit Blu-ray, and then I watched it today for today's episode. And yeah, I don't think you can describe this movie in any other way other than fun.
Yeah, it's not meant to be taken seriously. It is what it is.
So if you guys want to check this movie out, you can watch it on Prime Video with stars, or you can rent it from $5.99 and more, wherever you can stream and rent videos. So let's talk about it. Today's movie, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. What did you guys think of Nick Cage playing Nick Cage? When you saw that we're talking about this, or Craig, you watched it because of the meme. What did you guys think? Nick Cage, me personally, my thoughts originally, it's go ahead. I'm sorry, I'm about to choke.
No, so I had heard that Nick Cage played Nick Cage, and I was fine with that. I knew he's an actor acting in a movie, and he's playing himself, so it's kind of like Inception. What really got me was all the other actors are playing different characters, while Nick Cage is still playing Nick Cage, and
Some of the not who. Some of the differences that he would go ahead, like when Neil Patrick Harris first came on, and he's just talking to him like he's another agent, or not really talking down to him, but just like talking business and straight business to him and all that. But at the same time, a person that you feel he can kind of be himself with a little bit, compared to like the first director that he did the forced read to.
Yeah.
Everybody in the background is looking at him like, is he threatening him, or does somebody need? The interactions were really, really good for that matter. They really were.
Johnny?
Sorry, I had a little technical difficulty. My screen popped off. But I think this movie is just fun. Like I explained it earlier. You can't go into this movie thinking or taking it too serious. I like how the movie, has David Gordon Green in it, which has done some Nicolas Cage movies. Um, I like how Nick Cage and the director put some Easter eggs in there from Nicolas Cage's own movies.
Yep.
Um, you
Subtle
just,
and not so subtle.
yeah, and they even make fun of the situation of Nicolas Cage doing any and every single movie. He talks about, he's like, I just look at his work and I go through and I feed my family, I support my family, I have bills to pay, so
Yeah.
and there's so many Nick Cage movies out there now. I was at Walmart the other day and I saw a random one called The Old Way. He's in a western.
Yeah.
Got no publicity whatsoever, but you know what? He has a movie that's in theaters right now called Renfield. So it's like he goes back and forth, straight to DVD, and then he'll do a big time blockbuster.
Well, and this is just kind of going based off of something that maybe I would do as an actor. How many times do you see actors go years without a role? And, he may be looking at this small role as if he's like, you know what, I enjoy this story. Let's see if we can make something happen with what we're provided. And maybe he's taking those chances on those movies.
I mean, maybe he's keeping his teeth sharp, or maybe like you said, maybe he just really likes the story.
Yeah,
or
like it could be a friend of his that is like, hey, this is my story. I'm really kind of into it. Do you mind doing it? He's like, yeah, let's see what we can do with it. Or maybe he's just like, you know what? A role is a role, and how many people are not offered roles? He's like, he's grateful for being offered that role, so he takes it.
So in the movie, there's a scene where he talks about maybe, and this could be a role of a lifetime, and his Nikki, his self that he talks to,
Which
tells
is
him,
hilarious, by the way.
he's a movie star. He's Nick fucking Cage. He should only do big time movies. What'd you guys think about that, by the way? Craig, you enjoyed Nikki. Ed, you kind of seem like you're a little optimistic about him.
I will say it was okay, but it was a little annoying as well.
I get what you're saying with that, but at the same time, as a Hollywood actor, you probably have so many people feeding your ego, and that's probably his ego that he has suppressed, where he's like, you know what, I am Nick Cage. I have been in these top movies. I should really only be doing this top stuff. And, he's just, I think it's a fun way of him showing that light of what, some of his thoughts might be. But at the same time, he's still able to repress it and kind of be just regular Nick Cage and not Nick fucking Cage.
Yeah, at first when I first watched the movie, I didn't understand or really like the idea of him talking to himself. I thought that could have saved the movie maybe 15 minutes. But then watching it this time around, I'm like, man, I really enjoyed, especially last year, we almost did a whole Nick Cage month here on the podcast. I was flirting around with the idea after watching that movie. But I started watching a bunch of his older movies and I was like, man, then doing some research for him today, I was like, man, he won an Oscar in '95 for Leaving Las Vegas, and that's a movie that I haven't seen that now I want to go out and see.
He's been nominated multiple times and has won several awards.
He's only been nominated. He's only been nominated one other time.
Well, I mean, several times.
But that's what I was going to ask you guys today. Like, what do you guys think of Nicolas Cage? Because it's an actor who we really haven't talked about that much on the show. But it's like he's in everything. He's known for a lot of historical roles and for a lot of popular movies. When we talk about Nick Cage today and next week, what's some of the first thoughts that come to mind
for Nick Cage?
Yeah.
For me, the initial thoughts of Nick Cage are always, for me in my generation, it's National Treasure.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I kind of go into Ghost Rider, and then it's Con Air for me, personally for me.
See, I would do National
Oh, and then
Treasure,
60 seconds as well, kind of 60 seconds as well.
like National Treasure, Face Off, Con Air, Gone in 60 Seconds for that matter, and then Ghost Rider after that. And that's not like a top five. That's just the first ones that truly do come to mind. But as far as kind of describing him and my thoughts as him being an actor, I would say passionate. I mean, don't get me wrong, you don't see any roles that he's kind of lazy in for that matter. You don't ever see him just kind of like half-ass do something. At least to me, it has never been that way. Um, you've seen him do transformations on himself to where acting like a badass, acting like some action hero, and then acting like brilliance. There's just a ton that this guy has done for that matter. So I mean, range is a definite word that would come to mind as well.
Speaking of range, these are some movies I'm going to throw out there, and you guys should try to find them before we talk about him a lot more next week. When I think of Nick Cage lately, I think of movies like Pig, Willy's Wonderland, Prisoners of Ghostland, Primal, Colors Out of Space, Knowing, Mandy, and then for me, it all started with Face Off.
Yeah.
And
That luscious hair.
my hair, but and you would think maybe like The Rock or Con Air, those two movies, you would think that maybe they're like a constant rewatch for me, but I've only seen Con Air. I don't even think I've ever seen Con Air at all. And that's how this movie starts out, as from the ending scene of Con Air. Um, but I think somebody said it just a little bit ago that Nick Cage has a wide range. Um, I think this movie hits it right on the head. You hear the word underrated a lot. You hear the word, and then the name of the movie, massive talent, the unbearable weight.
Yeah, like you said, there aren't many movies that he comes out with where you're like, man, I want to rewatch that one over and over and over. But when you do watch them, you're not bored. You're not really, you're not like, oh, this movie sucks. It's just you watch it and it's a movie. You enjoy the movie, but like Johnny said, he's not really ever one that you sit there and think about when it comes to being one of those top actors, even though he really is.
He's almost a gray man in a way. Almost. He's a gray man in the spotlight, basically. Yeah.
I mean, he's got a great voice.
Mm-hmm.
He's very well known from all the movies that he's done. He's done hits. He's done voice acting. He's done kids movies. He's hit every spectrum in film that you can think of.
Yeah. And I mean, the guy, like I said earlier, gives a lot into each one of his films. At least half of them he's yelling, and I mean yelling hard.
Yeah.
A lot of his films, especially older films, have a lot of action in them. That I mean, like this film states, you did most of, if not all of your stunt driving for Gone in 60 Seconds yourself. So I mean, there's a lot of stuff that is like that the guy does, and maybe this is one of those films that's just like, hey, I just noticed this. Maybe y'all haven't too. So nudge, nudge, kind of thing.
I mean, Johnny, you kind of said it a little earlier about all these movies that you were talking about. He's putting out 2 to 3, sometimes 4 movies in a year. I mean, 2019 he had 6 movies. 2018 he had 5. 2017, like, for somebody who's in so many movies, and like, again, Johnny, you said underrated. For somebody who's in so many movies, you don't really see him in those big time box office hits anymore. But he's out there. Everywhere you look, he's out there.
And his movies don't get like complete terrible ratings.
Like, your headset was off when I was talking to Ed about this. Every time you watch them, no matter what it is, which I haven't seen a lot of these, you know, ones that have recently come out, but every time I watch him in the movie where he's in, I'm not bored. I'm not sitting here saying this movie sucks. It's an enjoy to watch every time you watch one of the movies he's in.
Pig is on Hulu. Willy's Wonderland is on Hulu. Um, Color Out of Space is on AMC Plus. If anybody has that,
You said you watched Pig.
yeah,
Did you like it?
I loved it. It's kind of like a John Wick movie.
A truffle hunter who lives alone in the Oregon wilderness must return to his past in Portland in search of his beloved foraging pig after she is kidnapped. So the movie's about him chasing after a pig.
Yeah,
It's John Wick with a pig.
but let's get back to the massive
movie.
talent.
Yeah.
What'd you guys think of meeting Javi? Pedro Pascal, like I talked about, Craig, when you were gone for a minute, he's on a hot streak right now. He's somebody who I really did not like while watching Wonder Woman. But you know what? He's grown on me, and I think he's done a phenomenal job the last 12 months, starting with this movie.
Absolutely, yeah. No, when you first meet him,
He gets shoved off basically, like part of the help. Basically,
yeah. He's Nick Cage thinks that he's just, he's like, I'm going to this island, and he's like, no, it's me.
Like,
it's my island.
He kind of almost is like it's his chauffeur, basically.
And I love that Javi has this mysterious side to him where, he's like, man, I love Nick Cage. I love you, blah, blah, blah. And he's like trying to push out the actor side of Nick Cage again, because he's like, you know what? I'm retired. I don't want to do it anymore. And he's like, but I have this script. And whenever he drives him up on that mountain, he's like, just stops the car and gets out and starts running. He's like, come on, like act with me. I'm trying to get you back in the game. I love that. I love that scene.
The whole LS when they both take LSD.
Oh my God. When he's like the general, like,
yeah. And then they jump off the mountain. He's like, I had no idea it was that tall.
Or when they're laughing and they're looking at the two older gentlemen, they're looking at us.
Yeah.
And Javi looks around and turns around and just starts laughing at him.
He's like, look at him and then do a laugh. He's like, yeah. No, I mean, like, it's subtle moments that are funny. I think Nick Cage and Pedro Pascal have great chemistry in this movie, since it's primarily centered around them. I think the surrounding cast in this movie with
Tiffany Haddish
and Ike, whatever Ike's last name, Ike Barinholtz. They're two familiar faces that are both very comedically good in their genres and how they push their comedic side. So I think that was a great casting decision for those two. I think Pedro, and like I said, Nick Cage, the chemistry was great.
And you don't need like, that's one thing I was kind of worried about this movie was I thought the surrounding cast was going to be kind of trash. But like, you don't need the surrounding cast to be, head over heels and all-star. Yeah, you don't need them to be good at all. But they're good in this movie because Nick Cage and Pedro just uplift everybody around them.
Yeah. My favorite thing is, Nick Cage is now undercover, and they're like, Javi he's the guy. He's the one that kidnapped the girl and all that stuff. And so he's like, well, you got to let me in this room. He's like, you can't go in that room. I don't want you to. And he's like, you got to let me in this room. He's like, okay, but I don't want your perception of me to change. And so, like, as a viewer, you're sitting there like, oh, this dude's got somebody locked up. Like, this is actually the bad guy. And when he opens it up and it's all Nick Cage memorabilia from movies and everything, like, comedic gold.
I've got to say, like, a lot of it's like, okay, collector stuff, but the wax statue with the guns, that was kind of just like
a little too much. Yeah.
But
that's what makes it funny. That's what makes it, like, it's somebody who has dedicated an entire room in their mansion to Nick Cage stuff. And it's just funny.
If I had the money, that would be me in my Adam Sandler room.
What would be your favorite Adam Sandler prop?
Oh my god.
The cup from
Waterboy.
no, the Hoobie Halloween.
Oh my god, the thermos.
The thermos. So,
It can do
honestly,
everything.
what would be your favorite prop from a Adam Sandler movie?
Man, from an Adam Sandler movie, a prop, I would probably have to say,
Prop, outfit, wig, whatever.
man, maybe
The little Nicky hair and jacket.
that's funny. Man,
Stood on a mannequin.
you put me on the spot. I would probably have to say one of his fake movie posters from Funny People, maybe like him
Okay.
as a merman,
Yeah.
or maybe the Scuba Steve outfit he wore that he made in Big Daddy. I'm Scuba Sam. Yeah.
What would be your room, Craig? Who would be your entertainment person?
Oh man, I don't really have one like Johnny.
Well, even music or video game, or anything,
If I could have just a complete room decked out with, I mean, but that's why everything's so diverse in here. I have Nintendo, Star Wars. If I could have one thing in my room, just completely deck it out. I'm gonna split it. I'm gonna go with two. I'm gonna go one side Star Wars, the other side Legend of Zelda. I think Zelda is just a fantastic franchise.
So it would be a centerpiece.
A centerpiece?
Yeah, like the thing.
If I could have the actual hilt that was used by Mark Hamill,
like the OG Greyflex,
the OG hilt, lightsaber hilt, that would be my centerpiece.
That'd be kind of cool, especially just knowing it's a freaking camera flash tube, that like a modified one. That's cool.
Yeah, that would be
I mean, if we're going like movie props, like I think the ultimate movie prop, like if I had the money and it was
the
on
Darth
its
Vader
own
helmet.
Darth Vader helmet, like an actual on-screen Vader
Yeah.
helmet set up on a nice little mantle, like an actual movie props one, that'd be priceless.
Yeah, I mean, James Earl Jones, it's iconic. Yeah, I mean that's. Yeah, I think something from the Star Wars universe has to be your centerpiece.
Ed, would you go with an actual touched by Daniel Radcliffe Harry Potter wand?
So I've thought about that a little bit, and this might be a little weird or whatever, but I'd want a small scale. No.
What did you say?
Jockstrap.
Used in the Quidditch.
Quidditch issued.
Oh my god. No, small scale replica of like Hogsmeade and Hogwarts, I think would be pretty cool. Kind of like the
but that's not an actual
and all
prop.
that. Well, I mean, true. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, if we're talking wands, like this is half of what I've got at least. But
those are replicas. We're talking about from the movie set.
Probably the collection of Horcrux items, then, like the actual Horcrux props, I think would be cool because you'd have everything from every Hogwarts founder. You'd have a lot of stuff from the Gaunt family as well as the Riddle family, and then I guess a statue or something like that of Daniel Radcliffe as Harry Potter and a Nagini statue, basically.
This guy's hobby. Nobody in here said statue.
Well, I'm just like, well, okay, Harry.
Like
Harry
you want a 5-foot Daniel Radcliffe.
Well, no, because Harry and Nagini were Horcruxes unintentional, but still were Horcruxes. So it's just like
technically they're.
Do you take the freaking clothes that when you found out? Do you take like?
I get it now because like he is a piece of the movie, so a statue of Daniel Radcliffe would be technically a prop.
So it's just like and now I think back to that, and I'm just like, that's kind of a weird thing, the wax statue, and I'm just like, well, but Yeah, that would be the kind of the coolest thing, or maybe the Deathly Hallows with the cape, the ring with the stone, and the wand.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Ed, what do you think
But
about this movie? And both you guys can answer this question. Is this movie good? Do you think it's like do you think it's going to be memorable? I mean, nobody went and saw it. It didn't even make its budget back, but it kind of just like Craig. You said you've seen it twice now. Ed, we'll start with you. Is it something that you think you'll pick back up?
I
Yeah,
could probably.
I'll
Oh, go
definitely
ahead.
watch this movie again for sure. I don't know if I'll ever buy it. Um, my physical purchases have been limited to certain. Obviously, I don't have Johnny's
Library.
repertoire of film. Um, so yeah, I don't think I'll ever buy it, but it's definitely a movie that I would watch again.
Speaking of the steelbook, it is a pretty nice steelbook. You can take it off, and it's got
Oh.
different characters of Nick Cage.
Different Nick Cage.
Yeah, it's nice. It's good. I don't think it was $34 worth.
Yeah.
But it's still nice.
It's definitely watchable. Like, I would watch it again for that matter. I would.
Yeah.
As in, like, is this going to be something 25, 30 years down the road that I'm just going to be like, dude, gotta show this,
I think a year later, it's already been forgotten about.
Unfortunately, I think if this were to be shown on something, TNT, I don't know how many people still have cable anymore and still watch movies as they come across, since everything's on demand now. But if this movie were to show up on Netflix and people were like, oh, that looks funny, 88% of people liked it. It's got like it matches me 98% from stuff that I've watched. I think people would watch this, and I think this is one of those movies where as soon as it hits streaming services, like some of these other movies have, they're out for a year and a half, they hit a streaming service that's mainstream, and word of mouth gets around, and the movie catches like wildfire. I think this could be one of those films.
Because, I mean, it's... I wouldn't say... It doesn't... It's not a bad film at all. I like the film. I do. Sometimes I do think it kind of...
Did it drag for anybody?
Track. Not really drag, just got off track a little bit. Other than that, I'd say no.
I mean, I don't see
a lot you can cut out.
I don't recall it ever feeling like it got off track.
Was it pretty easy to keep up with for you?
Yeah, I feel like the plot was good. They thought that Javi was the bad guy all this time, and he's really just a guy who's out of the loop. Like, he's in a group of people, and he knows who the boss is of the certain organization that they're dealing with, and I thought it was fairly easy to keep up with.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's easy to keep up with. I mean, you don't... Yeah, it's very easy.
You lost track of it sometimes.
No, not that I lost track of it, that it got off track. Like, the movie would almost seem like going. Hey, look at that squirrel. Okay, I'm sorry. Going. Hey, look at that. Kind of thing.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's two guys who one's trying to pry a guy for information that he doesn't have. You know what I mean? So, to me, the off-track parts where, like, they take the LSD, or they're running and they're trying to get over that wall, and Javi comes around and he's like, I just walked around. They're on drugs, and he thinks that he died because he didn't get over a wall. I can see where you think it went off track, but I think that those little derailments kind of just show the not character development, but the storyline development of how him and Javi kind of get to know each other.
Bond. Yeah. Bond. And I mean, no, that was just fine. Once it kind of started going to the culmination and kind of the climax of it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it started to delve in a bit better and all that. But no, that would be my only like gripe, I guess, is that it kind of just seemed to. It was on track, and then the sporadic moment, on track,
Yeah.
sporadic moment, kind of thing. It was just like, okay, and it kept it interesting. I mean, don't get me wrong, the cliff dive for that matter. It's just like, oh shit, they're really doing. Oh yeah, and didn't even think about it. He's just like, that turnaround and let's go.
It's because the script that Pedro Pascal invited Nick Cage to read and be a part of his movie is also the same way the director got Nick Cage to be a part of his movie. The director was like, I have this idea in mind about Nick Cage playing Nick Cage. We think we're huge fans of you, and we think you're the only one who could pull this off. So it was almost like the director put his thoughts into the movie, and so. What'd you guys think of the end?
Did.
And I just want to, so like that part right there, like I don't think it would have ever happened. Like the only reason it happened is because Nick Cage told him that he was retired, and so Javi, being his character in the film, just off the top of his head was like, okay, if you're going to act retired, I need to get you back into this.
Yeah,
and so it was a spur of a moment thing, which I don't think it necessarily is a derailment or like off topic of where the story was. I think it, like I said, it adds to how Javi was as dedicated as he was to get Nick Cage to be in his movie.
Nick Cage's family not being in the movie and them kind of, what'd you think of the actress who played the mom, the daughter? Again, I think it fits into what we talked about earlier with the other surrounding cast members. It didn't really need to be somebody big about, Nick Cage's daughter, as long as they got Nick Cage and Pedro right.
Basically.
Yeah. As long as that family didn't feel weighted, you know what I mean? Like they didn't bring anything down. If they didn't give anything, that's fine. But as long as they didn't take anything, I think that casting was a good call.
Favorite scene, Ed? You want to talk about a favorite scene before we move on?
Pretty much, right after he drives him up and then gets out of the car, that was, I don't know, it just was kind of started laughing, kind of like, what's going on with these guys, and all that. They did the jump, and it was just like, okay, well, cool, I'd have to say that ultimately was my favorite part right there. Yeah.
Mine's gonna be when they're on the LSD and they climb that wall, and Nick Cage thinks that Javi's dead, and then he comes around the corner and he's like, "Oh yeah, it's the unfinished wall. I just walked around." And whenever he shows them the room of the Nick Cage memorabilia, those are my two favorite.
The Nick Cage memorabilia was good. The LSD sequences to me were top notch. And then you know what? Not only when Pedro showed, not only when Javi showed Nick Cage Paddington 2,
Yes,
but also when Nick Cage watched it with his daughter, because my daughter was huge into Paddington 2, and it's a good fucking movie.
and
that was a touching scene right there at the end.
I wonder if there's any correlation with Paddington 2 in this movie, like a director or an actor that was in it, and they were like, you know what?
That'd have been funny if Nick Cage was supposed to be in Paddington 2. But and I also like how this movie is a drama, a comedy, an action, a thriller, all in one.
It kind of adds. It's a suspenseful movie, detective. Like it's very, very layered when it comes to what this movie is able to bring and deliver. The ending was solid. The car chase, like you said, the action, the car chase at the end, the flip, it was solid all the way around. And for like you said, this movie made what, 24 million, 29 in the box office. I, for one, didn't. I saw this and I was like, this looks like the stupidest movie of all time. It's Nick Cage talking about his massive talent, and it's not what it is.
I think they promoted it wrong for that
They
matter.
did. I think marketing for this movie was very off.
And I think they were trying to go from kind of a funny side and all that, but I don't think it paid off very well in that aspect because it literally, like it didn't do it justice in any way, shape, or form. And I feel like a lot of people missed out on a very good film.
Yeah.
That
It was promoted pretty heavily.
It was promoted
no,
heavily. I don't think it was done correctly.
yeah, because I mean, it was like almost like a stupid comedy kind of thing, and it's just like Nick Cage and Pedro Pascal are doing,
Well, let's be honest. I think this movie was out a year too early. You add Pedro Pascal to this movie, and it comes out this year, more people are going to see it. Period.
Yeah.
I could see that. See that.
Yeah, because Renfield is in that spot now, and I've heard some mixed reviews about it, but there's a lot of people going and seeing it. So,
I mean, to me, that looks interesting.
Supposed to be a direct sequel from the 1931 Dracula movie, so should be interesting.
Yeah.
Star rating for the Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. I'm gonna give this movie an 8. I gave it an 8 last year when I watched it and talked about it in recent watches. I'm gonna stick with it. The rewatchability was fun. It's just a comedy that you need to go have fun with.
Yeah.
So I'm giving it an 8. Craig?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think it's an 8. The movie, you'll get the gist of the movie like the first 10 minutes you watch it. Nick Cage is Nick Cage, and everybody else is kind of playing a role, and he's trying to figure out himself. And
it's almost a Truman Show of Nick Cage, almost in a way.
In a way,
it definitely not the same kind of thing, but it's almost a documentary of Nick Cage's life, or a part of it that everybody else just plays some other weird random character.
Yeah,
Edward.
It's like a show in his life of him being retired and then being forced to get into role, and it not completely, but it changes his trajectory of acting. So, but yeah, I give it an 8. I think it's funny. I think it's witty. It covers, like you said, action, drama, thriller, suspense. It's funny. There's great acting. There's great chemistry. Like, this movie delivers in every aspect that you want a film to deliver. I don't think it's perfect, but I do think you'll have a fun time watching it.
Oh yeah.
Edward, star rating?
I would say I fully agree. An 8 is very solid for this. Just like Craig said, it hits a lot of different things, hits a lot of different nails in the coffin, and presents itself very well. It's just marketing was the downfall of it, I think. That's the biggest thing I think is a negative of this film, is just the marketing.
Yeah.
Or how they did the marketing, I guess. That's it.
I believe there's only one episode left of April, and then we're in May already. We've been 5 months into the year.
Oof.
It's hard to believe that last year we were like, Solo feels like it was just yesterday, and now that's a year behind us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where has the time gone?
I want to take your face off. Next week, we're talking more Nick Cage. The top 5 returns next week. Emails return next week. And next Monday, April the 24th, we're talking Face Off, Nick Cage, John Travolta, a John Woo film, highly action-packed film. This will be the first full-time watch for both you guys, right?
Yeah, I honestly have zero idea what this movie is about, except for, again, the scene that you made me watch that one time where he's completely going crazy in the airport bank. I can't remember where it's at.
I believe it's an airport, and he's dressed up as a pastor, and he's doing his Nick Cage thing. He goes up behind a choir student and grabs her ass.
Yeah,
I've seen it a few times, but it's been at least probably a decade or so.
I'm more interested to see John Travolta in this film, because I feel like this is one of those it's in his in between phase where he's like, I don't really know John Travolta's career trajectory. I know it's not his Grease side, and I know it's not his, the last movie he did, like
So
Hairspray or whatever.
you can watch this movie on Paramount Plus, or you can watch this for free on Pluto. So it has been a few years since I've seen this movie, but I'm honestly really excited to revisit this and talk about it with you guys next week, the last episode of April.
I'm
Yes,
curious.
sir.
Let me see this. Okay. So Face Off for him came in between.
Space Off was 97, 98?
97. I mean, so Pulp Fiction was 3 years earlier. Before Battlefield Earth.
And top 5 returns next week. We are talking our top 5 Nick Cage movies, so get as much Nick Cage in a week as you guys can.
Yeah. So
man,
I feel like this movie falls into John Travolta's golden years. After Grease, I'd say this span was his golden years. So
kind of forgot that Danny Masterson was in this.
So it's gonna be a pretty fun conversation. And then May kicks off, guys. We're talking Blood Diamond on May 1st. Edward, I know there's going to be a week or two that you're not going to be with us.
Yeah. What is May? Well, no, because I take off Tuesday or on a Tuesday, so I should be here for what? 15th is Passion.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You're talking the Passion with us, you motherfucker.
So I should be here for it. Because that should be the day before I leave.
Monday, May 1st, we're talking Blood Diamond. Monday, May 8th, we're going back to the theaters and we're going to talk Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Passion of the Christ, May 15th. I forgot what was after Passion of the Christ.
what were we talking about? You sent it our way. Was it Blood Diamond?
Sicario, Monday, May 22nd. And then All Quiet on the Western Front, our Memorial Day episode, Monday, May 29th.
Who directed that movie? Do you know off the top of your head?
I don't.
Okay.
It's a Netflix movie, though, and it was nominated for Best Picture this year.
Where's Zach when you need him? He'd know.
It is directed by Edward Berger.
Two things Johnny loves: Edward and burgers.
Looks like this is the first really big movie that he directed.
Yeah.
So, and it got nominated for Best Picture. So it'd be interesting. Are you guys excited for Face Off?
Yeah.
I'm not like excited, but I'm very curious to just see how it goes. I think I'll have fun with the movie. I think it'll be a fun conversation just purely based off of some of the things I've already seen and heard from Face Off. So
I was about to say Travolta and Cage do really well against each other for that matter. So.
Two big names. So
yeah.
It's a real good movie. So go check it out. Next Monday, Face Off, Paramount Plus, Pluto TV, Face Off next week. We'll see you guys next Monday. Any other comments about Nick Cage or the unbearable weight of massive talent?
No, I'm just kidding.
Just go into it with an open mind. Have fun watching it.
And we'll talk more Nick Cage and a top 5 next week right here on the Cine-Men Movie Podcast.
Later.